Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. Today I wanted to do a video about focus stacking. It was something that I touched on in the last video, but I didn't feel that I explained it particularly well, and I didn't do anything about the processing of focus stacked images. So what I'm going to do today is something a little bit different. We're going to have a look at how I would do a focus stack typically using Lightroom and Photoshop, and then we're going to bring in a new software into the armory, Affinity Photo, and we're going to have a look at how we might do exactly the same workflow using DxO PhotoLab and Affinity Photo. Okay, so without further ado, let's get into it. Fantastic. Perfect spot. Okay, let's get set up. I'm going to take a wide-angled shot in portrait orientation of the waterfall. I'm going to use this stone here as my foreground, and it's a little bit messy. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to shoot this on quite a slow shutter speed. So I've whacked my f-stop up to 16, so I'm going to keep it reasonably sharp, but that will slow it down to, I'm thinking, probably a 20th or 15th of a second. So we're going to get some movement on the waterfall. We'll get nice creamy water on the waterfall. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take 3 shots, and the reason is because with these wide angle lenses, if I just center it and take one shot, yes, I'll probably get the waterfall in sharp focus, I'll probably get the rock in the distance into sharp focus, but this rock here is probably less than 12 inches away from the axis, of the vertical axis of the lens, and so it won't be in sharp focus. So what I need to do is minimally take 2 shots. One of where the stone is in sharp focus, yeah, and a second one with the middle distance and the distance in sharp focus. What I do is I take 3 shots just to be absolutely sure that I've got everything. What we're trying to get to grips with here is how to get sharp focus front to back using a wide angle lens, and the technique we're looking at is focus stacking. And the reason that it's needed is because the sharp objects in the foreground are so close to the camera. So our checklist here is we want to make sure we've got a really stable tripod, really root it in, don't let, you know, we can't have room for wobbles because we've got 3 shots that have got to be identically framed insofar as is possible. Okay, let's get on and take the shot. So 3 shots, I'm going to take the first one close, and I'm using manual focus for this. So what I do is okay, now okay, okay, so that's 1 shot in the bag. Right, now we're going for the middle shot. So again, manual settings. I get this as blown up as close as I can. Whoops. Okay, and we adjust the focus until it is pin sharp. There we go. Okay, that's that shot in the bag. Now we're going for the waterfall, and I'm going to focus on the rock directly in front because the water's moving, so that's a bit harder to focus on. Okay, so 16 times focus, and that is the point of sharp focus. So I say 100 to get the best quality picture. f-stop 16 to slow the shutter speed down a little bit, and the shutter speed is working out to 1/15, 1/15 of a second. So good, we're good to go. Here we are in Adobe Lightroom. I've got the 3 pictures here that I took on the day, and these are the ones we're going to work on. So the first thing to do is import the pictures. Okay, so what we do is, the first thing we do is edit the picture, just the basic edits. Okay, so into basics, a little bit of global contrast to liven this up. I'll pull my highlights down. Shadows, let's just lift the shadows ever so slightly there. Touch of clarity, touch of texture. Don't need dehaze, a little bit of vibrance. Leave that as it is. Tone curve. We're just going to lift that a little bit and drop that a little bit. Okay, and I think the rest of it will come back and do later. So let's first off select all 3 pictures, and we want to sync all 3 pictures, and we'll keep all of these. We've done no transforms, no lens blur, so it's just these things. So we've synchronized the 3 of them. So they now should more or less match. These are going to be a little bit darker, but okay, so select them all. Right, and I'm going to edit in, I'm going to open as layers in Photoshop. Okay, so that's my foreground. That's my middle, and that's my distance. And what is immediately obvious is there's a little bit of what's called focus breathing, so these need to be aligned. So what I will typically do is open them here. So open the files, go to edit, and we do auto align layers, and what I do here is leave this on auto, and I'm not going to bother with the lens corrections because we've already applied those. Okay, so you can see here that we've got a little bit of space, but everything is in the same place. Okay, so that's corrected for the what's called focus breathing. So it's when you, so we'll be able to correct that later on. Okay, now the next thing to do, back to the edit, and we'll go to auto blend layers. Now what I expect to happen here is for it to do this job pretty well, except for possibly at the back, and we may need to have a sort of corrective action there. So I'll leave these on and let's have a look and see what the output's like. Okay, so pretty good actually. Actually very good. So this is the merged one, and you can see here the masks that it's created. So there's my foreground mask, there's my middle, and that's my distance mask. So it's made the right choice here, everything there. Okay, and I'm just going to correct a couple of things here. So in my distance mask, for some reason it's blanking out there. So we're not seeing that in the distance. So I'm going to correct that. So we take our brush. I'm going to just go over these because actually we want these to come from the distance shot, not from anything else. I think probably these as well. Turn that on, that's looking good. So let's just have a quick look at this. And let's have a look at the focus. So here we are, here's our foreground. Pretty much exactly as we want it. These stones are underwater, so that's the effect that we're getting there. That's fine. And as we go through the photo to the background, there we go. Okay, I'm perfectly happy with that. I think that's a pretty good take. We've got some movement in the water. It's fine. We wanted that, so let's go back to view 100%. And that's our merged file. And there's our finished file. Okay, so good, we like this. It's perfectly crisp front to back. All right, so let's have a look and see how this works out in DxO. Okay, here we are in DxO PhotoLab. We're in the Photo Library module. These are the 3 pictures. I'm going to go through exactly the same process that I did with Lightroom and Photoshop. And so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to develop the most well lit one, and then we're going to copy those settings across. Okay, so double click on this. We're going to not apply smart lighting because the scene is actually quite well lit. Selective tones, we're going to drop our highlights down a little bit. Mid-tones a touch. Actually, let's pull those highlights back. Lift the shadows a little bit. And we're going to apply a little bit of clear view. And we're going to take that down. When I say a little bit, I mean a little bit. So that's perfectly sufficient. Contrast, I'm going to add some fine contrast to get the fine detail. And a little bit of micro contrast just to boost this area at the front. My tone curve, we lifted the, let's just push that up a tiny little bit. Okay, that's perfect. So what I do is I copy those correction settings. I go to Photo Library, I go to Foreground, I choose Image, and I paste all the correction settings. You can see that's taking place. I go to Middle, go to Image, paste all correction settings. So now I've got 3 developed pictures. Okay, now what I want to do is I'm not going to export these to Affinity because that will open them up in the develop module, and I don't want to do that because I've already done my basic here. So I'm going to export them to disk. And export them as TIFF, 16-bit, full size, so resize is turned off. Okay, so we're good, we'll export that, and we'll take a second to do that. So now I have got my foreground DxO TIFF, my middle DxO TIFF, and my distance DxO TIFF. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up Affinity Photo here separately. So let's go to Affinity Photo. And what I want to do is, I'm in the photo persona. I want to do new focus merge. And this will ask me to select the pictures. So I go to add. And I go to here, sorry, DxO Affinity, and I choose foreground, middle, and distance TIFFs. And I can open those, okay, and you can see there I am, foreground, middle, and distance, okay. And you can see it doing its stuff, it's really fast. And that's the process. Let's have a look at this in detail. So we'll look at that. And let's just go in here. This looks sharp. This looks very sharp indeed. Nice sharpness all the way through the picture, all the way to the front, and especially at the front. And dare I suggest that it's done perhaps a better job than Adobe Lightroom. Okay, so that's my focus merged image. Now, what I would normally do here is go and have a good look, blow the image up to even 100%, and we've got really good focus at the front here. This is water moving over these stones, so these are not actually out of focus. We need to look at the wider picture. So up the middle, a lot of water here. And we're going here. There's nothing really out of place, but let's just show how we would deal with this if there was an area that I wanted to pull out from one of the other photographs. So let's have a look at the foreground. If I wanted to pull something from the middle here, let's say, then yep, then my clone tool is on, and anywhere I brush here is going to pull something back from the middle. Okay, so if I go here, brush that in, and that becomes slightly out of focus. So come back to distance on that. And we'll just brush those back in, and that returns the sharpness to that area. So let's have a look down here. This is looking great. This is really sharp. Let's just make sure, So if we go in foreground, that is coming from the foreground, no difference there. However, if we went to the distance, this is going to make this slightly more blurry, which it does. Go back to the foreground, and we can go over that area again. And just brush back that sharpness from that original picture. So if anything, I think that correcting these pictures is slightly unintuitive, because what's going on behind is it's actually using the clone tool for some reason. I don't quite know why, but it short circuits the process that you've seen in Photoshop. That makes this is a lot easier, because I simply indicate which layer I want to bring the detail from and brush it into the picture. And because they're perfectly aligned, never a problem. So, perfect. And that's great. So, I think what we're looking at here, Affinity Photo, I'm going to probably do another video about, because I'm not an expert in Affinity Photo at all. But what I would say is that it has made a really good job of this focus stacking, and this is something that you cannot do in DxO. And so I think for the money, I think this is really excellent value. I really do. So go to my exports. That's the one I want. So that's the merged picture. I actually want this to be a JPEG. I'll do best quality, merge photo, save, export item. Perfect. Okay, good. So I think we're there with this. I'm very pleased with this as an addition to my DxO workflow, because it saves me. There are some things it seems to do better, in a sense, and this focus stacking is one of them for sure. So I will be using Affinity Photo for the foreseeable future to do focus stacking. I'm going to check out the HDR capabilities next week. I may do a video showing the basic principles of it all next week. Okay, thanks for watching, guys. Do subscribe if you're not already subscribed, and we'll see you next week for another new video. Thanks a lot. Cheers.